Hello, everyone, and welcome to our weekly 30-minute webinar. My name is John Deline, a systems engineer here at Verify, and I'll be your host for today's session. Joining me today is my fellow SE and lifelong hockey fan, Matt Sykes. Does hockey brighten your days?
It most certainly does, John. How are you?
Yeah, mine too. It's definitely a brighter outlook when I've got hockey. For today's session, Matt's going to talk about the differences between CUCM DN versus DID management and how to best utilize them. Please note that these webinars are always recorded and posted within 24 hours, so you can review them at any time. Check out the webinars page at verify.com for all our past and upcoming sessions. You can also find all these videos on our YouTube channel if that's easier for you. First, we'll start off with a quick overview of Verify and what Verify can do for you. Then we'll jump into a live demo where Matt will show us how to get those inefficient spreadsheets, get rid of those inefficient spreadsheets and get onto our DN and DID management, get the advantages of accuracy and eliminating all the legwork of maintaining them. We'll pause for Q&A. During the demo, if you have any questions, please make sure to ask them in the chat. After Q&A, we'll award one lucky attendee with a $50 Amazon gift card. So hang around to see if you've won. Verify is the preferred analytics and management solution tool for Cisco Call Manager, Contact Center Express, CubeIOS, WebEx calling, Zoom Phone, and MS Teams collaboration. Deployable either on-prem or as a hosted cloud solution, we provide industry-leading call reporting and analytics, as well as customizable dashboards and widgets. CUCM management modules like remote phone control, change management, and today's topic, dial plan management, are also available, DID management. If you have any questions on any of our features, please contact us at support@verify.com or reach out to your account manager. One more thing before we kick this off, for an additional fee, Verify offers an enhanced consulting service to our customers. Verify's SE team engages with you on a one-on-one basis to remotely provide additional consulting, report building, dashboard configuration, and system monitoring assistance. This is a service that provides you with a dedicated Verify SE to do the heavy lifting, giving you a stress-free, hands-off experience. For more information, please contact us or your account manager, and we'd be glad to speak in more depth about pricing and terms of service for our Enhanced Consulting Services, or ECS. Getting ready to hand things over to Matt now, so please remember to type any questions into the chat, and we'll address them at the end of his presentation.
Welcome, everyone. Again, this is Matt Sykes with Verify here. Today, we are going to discuss Verify's Call Manager DN versus DID management options that we have. So I do want to make mentions briefly here. There's definitely some differences and options to use for either or. We're going to kind of work through these and walk through these today. So as we had previously mentioned, if there's any questions or concerns on this content, certainly feel free to go ahead and put them into the session chat, and John and I will address those towards the end of the call. But yeah, so today we're kind of focusing on the purple DN and DID management module here. Now, it's kind of a two-fold module here that we're going to get into. I did want to start us off with kind of one of these, one of my website slicks, if you will. So main thing for this module is definitely one thing that wants to ease any pain for people out in the field is eliminating spreadsheets for tracking directory numbers and DIDs as well. Because certainly if you're not maintaining those quote-unquote working spreadsheets as efficiently and effectively as possible, they can become stale and unreliable at best, and mistakes can be made along the way. So the nice thing about Verify is we certainly put this into your fingertips here so that you can go ahead and quick search anything that you need to out of Call Manager. It's essentially what the DN management is. So both of these menu options are pretty much centralized around status options. So available, inactive, and active. So based off of these three statuses, and then whether or not we're using line numbers or range number searches or certain patterns, definitely within DID, we'll get into sites and blocks. But certainly that's going to be the core structure of this module overall. So regardless of where we're searching for the data from or these number recognitions, we're going to return them in kind of in a status option layout, if you will. So in the first submenu option I'm in here, I'm in DN management. So I can search anything to this Mexico City call manager cluster that I'm tied to right now. I'm not changing gears. But essentially what we can do is we can quickly read any directory number and identify its registration status very swiftly. So I can use wildcards. I'm now in my lab. This is a lab environment of mine, but this call manager has internal 4-digit directory numbers. So I can certainly just blanket 4 capital X's, which will be single character wildcards, which I think the hover mentions that each X for each wildcard digit. Sure. So I've got 4 digits and some 5 digits in this lab here. I've turned off available. I can turn it back on certainly. I can adjust the row count layout here. Now I'm searching a 10,000 block range or number range here, if you will. So it's not going to cover the first 500. Majority of all of these are not defined within my system here, so that's why these are littered with all these green ones. But I can certainly stricken and turn those off at a moment's notice. But then if I want to see what the call manager has for its directory numbers of the 4-digit variety or the 5-digit variety if I need to. So we can quickly search them in here in this manner, whether it's a certain pattern number. I'll use maybe the 10XX as an example. I know I have some in there. I know I'm in there, I think on 7. But we can quickly search by number patterns, specific unique numbers. We can also leverage any partitions that the call manager has. We want to search for maybe available extension numbers or directory numbers within a certain partition. Can certainly do that, or the default is to blanket all of them. Now I'm searching, kind of the 1,000 4-digit variety, if you will, just for the inactives and actives. I can certainly see here that certainly some are going to be inactive, some are active. I don't have any available to turn those off. So the available ones, let's just get this out of the way. The available ones that we're going to see in green here are going to be representative in DN management as well as DID. But as an example here, this 1,000 right here, there is no definition in my call manager for this directory number whatsoever. So that's why it is certainly returned in a kind of a green fashion to kind of highlight that, hey, this number isn't being used, certainly could be used and assigned to, a phone or a device within the call manager phone system. Just at the moment, it certainly does not. Now, the secondary option underneath, secondary status underneath there is going to be the inactive unassigns on 1001. Now, this is fantastic for cleanup purposes. So verifies yes, we're reading call manager for this information at the directory number level. We can see devices or excuse me, directory numbers that previously were assigned. So as an example, these 1001s, 2, and 3 off of the none partition here were previously assigned and registered on some devices at some point. They no longer are, and they're kind of in no man's land, and they need to be cleaned up because they're certainly probably affecting licensing costs or just overall, I guess, system management, if you will, from call manager's perspective. So certainly these numbers are no longer in use. They're not tied to any devices. Otherwise, we would see some associated assigned devices here in this column over here, which now we do not. So we can do a couple different things. So we can actually aid with cleanup within your directory numbers in call manager. We can certainly kind of blanket this, this range I'm keying off of here, and there's only 6 that fall underneath this the status option of inactive. So again, these are 6 numbers that certainly can be cleaned up. They can be removed from call manager, or heck, they can even be repurposed. So maybe there's a call for some new hires that are coming on board. We need 5 new extension numbers or directory numbers for them. We'd like to have them in a sequential pattern as an example. So maybe this is an example of maybe 3 or 4, or maybe a handful that you could find that you could certainly clean up and repurpose. But if not to repurpose, certainly to remove, to whittle down any of the cleanup or the bloat that call manager may have in its configurations that need to be fine-tuned, let's just say. And now certainly what's left over then is going to be the actives. The active ones will appear red. So let me just pull out this. I want to see a few more. So this will be all the active ones. Now, these are going to cover different types. And now this is going to pair true for DN management as well as DID. So there's a lot of similarities between the two. And I want to say DN management is probably, I guess, DN management 2.0, but we'll get into that in a few. But certainly searching, pretty much wide open for anything of a 4-digit pattern here that's of the active status variety, let's say. So in this lab here, I have about 43. These are going to cover different types. So we're going to cover phone devices. We're going to cover hunt pilots, translation patterns, transformations, voicemail ports, route patterns, and I think maybe 1 or 2 more. But there's definitely the lion's share of everything the call manager has, in its directory numbers. Sure, certainly someone can come into call manager and they can look for these numbers, in the DN lists, or maybe in a route plan report. But Verify makes it much easier for you. So you don't need to have registration access or login access into the call manager, have certain rights to be able to read those pieces. So certainly these are options in Verify that can be laid out for other administrators, or maybe not high level super administrators, let's just say. So managers themselves can certainly look at this information. We can set role based access to certain DID blocks and DID management, which we'll get into as well. But certainly it's going to be faster. This is much faster. There's not going to be, again, this replaces the need for any working spreadsheet. So if we want to know what's available within the 1000 range or the 1100 range as an example, certainly you can see those with relative ease and swiftness. We can also export this information into exported reports. So we'll get to that in a second. But what we can kind of quickly comb here is, yes, we have some devices. We can certainly see, let's exclude this one here. But we can certainly see the device registration. We can see IP communicators on 1100 here. My own personal one is on 1107 here specifically. If there are translation patterns you see here, we're going to see the full the full number, as well as provide its transform mask as well. So this 1106 falls into my 4-digit pattern here that I'm initially searching on. So it does rope it in here, give me the true translation number as well as its mask. If there's any other information from this that we need to uncover, certainly we can dig this a little more thoroughly if need be. But the nice thing is we can also go ahead and export this information out. So while now we don't want this to turn back into working spreadsheets, let me pull up my PDFs here. Now, okay, so as an example, this is very similar to kind of what we were looking at. So this is an export from this lab I was looking at a minute ago. I removed the status option of active because there's a lot more, available. There's a lot more available in there over that this 10,000 number range pattern that I don't want to have just filling down the page with additional pages that are unneeded. So for DN management, normally what I focus on are going to really be these two status options of inactive and active. People want to know what's actively registered, okay, and maybe take a look at it. So we're definitely going to provide that level of interpretation for that. So the directory numbers are listed out, partitions, their device types, status should all be active on the active ones, but also the descriptions and the device registrations. So certainly these are going to be all the in use 41 directory numbers in this 4-digit pattern within my lab. But again, then there's also 36 that are inactive unassigned. Again, back to what I was mentioning a minute or so ago, these are ones that are going to need a little attention from the IT team to go ahead and get them cleaned up, pulled out of call manager again, and or repurposed. So, I mean, this is a report that you can easily just get on the fly right out of Verify just by exporting directly from this section right here. You'll get an option to how you want to organize the numbers from DN management by number or by status. Again, the 3 status options of available, inactive, or active. Format of preference, of course. So mainly I use DN management myself personally for quick lookups. If we're looking for certain numbers, or again, certain ranges of numbers that may be open or assigned, or again, things that may need to be cleaned up. But DN is pretty much a quick, swift option for quick lookups in the call manager, let's just say, for the DNs and their corresponding device associations. Now, I'll slide on over to the right here. DN management is a little different, but it has a lot of the nomenclature and a lot of the core components from DN management. Again, it's kind of DN management 2.0. It does come with a configure option. Now, what's different between these two, I should probably have made mention this at the very beginning. DN management is only going to query the directory numbers out of call manager. Now, what DID management does is we actually import, or someone has to sit down and input all these, but we create DID sites and DID blocks. Within those blocks, those are the 10-digit DID blocks that are procured from the providers that normally are assigned to directory numbers within the call manager as well. Not always the case, but maybe the lion's share are. So there is a configure option here for us to go ahead and import the DID blocks and information into Verify, and then mapping to the internal directory numbers within Call Manager. Now, within DN management, there's a difference when looking at the availables. The availables are just going to certainly are going to pretty much just blanket anything that's apparent in my search. So as an example, just looking at 25 here. So 0000 all the way through probably 0024 are going to be in this 25 list out here that I have. Now, we may never even need these numbers. Don't ever want to provision any directory numbers that look like this as an example. But you definitely some may think that, oh, okay, we don't have anybody assigned on these, like that you own these directory numbers. Not exactly, that's not technically accurate, but within DID management, when we run the same searches, and the searches are going to look very similar. Let me just run a quick one here. The searches are going to look similar. There's different information. We'll get to that in a moment. But what is listed out that will be greeted and available underneath DID is going to be within the ownership of the blocks and ranges that you already have procured from your providers. So let me just find some green. So as an example here, these green ones down here that are available. So these 10-digit numbers here and these ranges here they've been procured by client A, we'll just say, from the carrier, but they have not been provisioned or there's no mapping back to any directory numbers in Call Manager. Maybe these are to be for future onboardings as an example, but definitely these are owned by the business, let's just say. So I do want to make that differentiation between DN and DID, whereas DN will bring back anything just based off of your number pattern search. DID management has rules that are embedded in the configure option that are feeding the results based off of our input options therein. Okay, so let's kind of talk about some of this DID management stuff. So I'm not going to go through all the configurables, but the nice thing about the DID management, and obviously it's easy to market this kind of stuff as well, is there's a lot of management that can be done from this, as well as kind of capacity kind of planning, viewing and managing your own DID blocks, and and easily finding what's available first and within ranges pretty quickly. So again, if there's rollouts that are needed for new hires, new project, or a or I wouldn't say a takeover necessarily, but maybe an allocation of a new business practice that's coming underneath your umbrella as an example, and you need to have some room on your call manager to to port over these DIDs to your environment and then map them down into your call manager for usage for the environment. So kind of mentioning that, so DID sites within Verify. So sites are glorified containers, let's just call them that. Certainly we can populate addresses and locations and information for them, but essentially DID sites will be the top tier as far as an organizational level, let's just say. Now, Chicago, a couple Denvers, and some UCCE are just in this lab here at the moment. We're pretty much going to pick on Chicago and Denver. There's two call managers I have. So the DID management is not call manager cluster specific. You can certainly wrap in multiple call managers at one time and kind of multi-cluster block site enterprise search. And we'll get into that in a moment or so. I just kind of did it on the fly a moment or so ago. But DID sites are going to have blocks that roll up into them. So as an example, this Chicago block, regardless of its definitions, are going to have DID blocks associated to it. So at the moment, there are 3 blocks and 2 blocks and a Victor test that are associated to it. So what we have the option to be able to go ahead and do is then be able to go ahead and search things that are either specific to that site or those individual blocks. So this pretty much gives us the organizational hierarchy for kind of searchability, if you will, for this content for your DID blocks. Now, DID blocks most certainly need to be built. They can be built manually. They can be imported as well. We've got plenty of knowledge base articles and videos on that stuff. But once all this is hammered out, it's mapped successfully to the internal directory numbers in Verify. Then you have a very similar search experience that we were just kind of looking at in DN management, but much better. So after going through all the configurable options, now I have options for kind of multi-site or multi-block kind of searching capabilities in one pass. So as an example here on these drop downs, I will have options to my definitions from that configuration option. So I can lean on my Chicago sites. And then if I want to pick on certain blocks that are associated to that, I should only have those 3. Do I want to blanket all sites or maybe multiple sites for all their blocks? Certainly I could go ahead and do so with some of these toggles. Can certainly easily onesie twosie it if need be. Or you have the luxury of turning them both on and searching enterprise wide. Now, again, as I made mention at the beginning of this, so we are going to centralize these 2 submenus here in this module based off of statuses and then input number searches. Now, within DN management, as I made mention a couple minutes ago, you're pretty much searching just number patterns, honestly. So the availables will return probably back some, well, not that they're going to return back anything bogus, but they're going to definitely return back nothing that is unfound mappings, if you will, based off of your number pattern searches. In the DID management, your searches, again, are going to be within the constructs of the number ranges that are configured for the block. Now, what does that mean, Matt? What that means is we'll look at this Chicago block I have here. So it's looking at this pattern right here from an area code and exchange, but this certain line group number. So when we search on this block, it's going to search between for this NPA and NXX, the line group of the line numbers from 1,000 to 5,000. So it's going to search within there, not anything else outside of that. So that's essentially kind of what I wanted to hammer home on that. So within that, then we can go ahead and search what we need to. Now, there is a search box option here that we can input. Now, it's only a 4-character variety. We definitely have wildcards here as well. I could throw a singular X in there as I wanted to, or I could search something that's maybe specific for that range. Now, let's maybe pop back here a little bit. Let's maybe just look at that Chicago site. Now, I'll key on Chicago. That had, what, 1,000 through 5,000. I will just pick on the 4,500 variety. So just an example. Now, this will return 100 DIDs that are going to match the 847706 and the 4500 to the 4599. I'm told it to list out the 500. That is the max. It does default to 25, but you can certainly flex this out as needed. Now, we're going to see the 3 options of available, inactive, or active, and I probably don't have anything assigned in this range. Let's just see. Doubtful. Okay, that's fine. But essentially, just kind of want to show you that you can search within the constructs, with this line number off what's already been previously provisioned in the block level at the configure option. Now, again, don't get me wrong. We could certainly search this thing wide for anything within that 1,000 and 5,000 range. It's only going to list out to me 500 per page. So this should be, I think enough to kind of get us going. But if we need to, we can be certainly more centralized. I can turn off the availables. Again, we can look at, oh wow, I guess I have a very blank block, pardon me. So I'll run this on all blocks I have underneath the Chicago site here. And okay, a very poor example, I guess I have there. Let's pick on Denver. And this should come back to us in a moment or so. A lot more blocks over there, I think. Okay, so here we are. So if I want to taking available out of the equation once again, now this is certainly, this being a wildcard pattern, but it is going to search all of the, pardon me, these 2 blocks for Denver that have been built in this lab here for, again, their bookends for their line numbers. It's not going to search anything outside for the configure input that we already put in for those line range numbers. So it should be on par, let's just say. So taking available out of the equation just for a moment or so, just so we can see some visually return options here that actually have device registration. So as an example here, we can see the DID numbers in column A are mapped to the directory numbers here from Call Manager. Now, they always don't have to be, one for one. There's definitely mapping options where maybe the directory number is 1, 2, 3, 4. There's no way for me to kind of gel that and map that accordingly. So we have some rules in the import options that, again, certainly you can view at your leisure, or we could point you in the direction of the knowledge base articles or webinar videos. But the nice thing about this is we can also do a lot of things with this. We can also tag information. So if we wanted to, we can tag certain DID numbers individually in this results section here. We can also tag them at a range level within the configure option underneath the block as well, if needed. Or we can even search for them from their tags right here. So there's a lot of options there. Let me turn on if I want to search it enterprise-wide. I think I have a few more. I even have my own tags here. Let's see what I have for my own tags. So what the nice thing about the tags, what they can be is they can be anything. They can be, they're free form. So as soon as we start typing onto them, we can kind of blanket one individual DID row, or again, hundreds of them if we needed to. I've only got one with a mat tag here. Okay. So we can quickly search them by these tags. Now, these tags can be a lot of different things. They can be reservations. They can be kind of organizational codes. They can be reserved for X, Y, and Z for future projects. I mean, there's a lot of different options that can be included with those. So again, we can search those based off of tags additionally. On our number searches. So a handful of different ways to use this to search. You can search sites individually, you can search the blocks individually, or you can do them kind of enterprise-wide as we're doing right here. You can search by tags, you can search by number patterns within the corresponding sites and blocks as well. See, okay, again, maybe I need 20 DIDs for these new hires or for this new group that we've taken over or that are under our umbrella now as an example. We could inline, create new tags if I wanted to, or add existing tags that we already have into these DID lines, because then what we have is options to go ahead and be able to export this information. Now, this may look a little beefy, but let me just pull this up. I know we're getting a little low on time here. So yeah, again, DID numbers, searching number ranges. We're going to return to you the corresponding status and the list out of all of those numbers in those patterns. Okay, so this is 4-digit, this is 5-digit. And this is just another cluster doing the same exact thing here. Now, DID management, that's going to give us a little more robust reporting for the kind of capacity planning and the management of your DID blocks and assignments. So as an example here, I ran this one kind of enterprise-wide this morning. So ran it across the Chicago and the Denver call manager clusters. So 2 clusters, 2 DID sites, but also multiple DID blocks as well. In this export, I have told the export option to go ahead and list out the ranges of these blocks as well. But then underneath them, we can also see site summarization. So how many available DIDs do I have at this site, or inactive that need to be cleaned up, or ones that may be active and those are fine. But then there's also can be additional content listed down below. Do we want to list out the very granularity, if you will, of all the numbers? Oh, excuse me. Also, I guess a status summary as well. So collectively across all 5 or 6 of these blocks, across 2 call managers and across 2 DID sites and Verify, we're showing that there's over 9,300 available DIDs that could be assigned. 14 again that need to be cleaned up, probably on the Denver block it looks like, but then 262 that are in use on the Denver block. But then we're also listing out all, I guess almost 10,000 of these numbers here. So we're going to list them. We can list them out in a couple of different manners. We can list them and sort them by their DID numbers, alphanumerically, or we can list them out based off of status. So again, if we want to list out all of the availables, all the inactives, and all the actives, certainly we have a couple different options there. Now, this definitely makes this report much lengthier, so I've told it to include everything. So it's giving me 615 pages, a little long in the tooth, but definitely you can see brass tacks, what Verify is identifying here with your DID patterns in relation to call manager. So for these DID numbers here, are they active? Are they shared? If they are shared, they should be, have multiple devices associated to them. So kind of that shared line kind of maybe hunt group kind of reporting, kind of similarities, kind of stuff like that. But again, we're going to be mapping it to a directory number. We're going to showcase the cluster tags if they are applicable. Again, those can be anything you want them to be, whether or not they're reservation identifications or termination dates, don't reuse till X amount of time frame, or organizational code. So there's a lot of different ways that our customers out in the field do like to use that option. So do feel free to entertain that. But then we're also going to showcase, descriptions of this information. So the descriptions of the directory numbers, the DN alerting names, and then some of the more information for the DID module itself. What site and what DID block does it fall underneath within the Verify configurations. Now, this can certainly be a little long in the tooth, don't get me wrong. This one is the exact same, just maybe one different. This one's sorting by status. So yeah, this one's giving me available first, the exact same one I just looked at. But again, like everything else in Verify, we can certainly suppress a lot of stuff. So if we didn't necessarily need that, and we only needed, again, maybe an enterprise-wide report, just to showcase exactly for your sites and for your blocks, what's open, what's available, and what's inactive and what's active. So maybe we only need the high, one 2-page style report for management to review on a monthly basis or on a quarterly routine. But certainly you have multiple options with the export option in Verify to go ahead and achieve that. So from the export button right here, I've got everything turned on. So we can certainly eliminate some of these if we want to. If we don't need to show the granularity of all those additional 600 plus pages, I can certainly suppress this pretty easily. But a couple of different options for you as well, formats and deliverables as well. So DN management, again, I think at the end of the day is great for kind of quick lookups and quick usage, not usage, quick identification, of what's available, what's active, and what's inactive. But then the DID management certainly goes definitely it goes a few steps further and kind of gives you all that management look and feel view from all of your enterprise kind of definitions for the procurement from the providers and those DID blocks. It's a fantastic way to go ahead and kind of be able to manage this information again without having to rely on any spreadsheet tracking and stuff like that. Again, these things aren't updated and maintained in a good amount of time frame, can become stale and unreliable at best. So definitely plenty of options to go ahead and entertain ourselves with here. If you yourselves are listening to this recording or live at the moment, do not have DN or DID management, or dial plan management in your Verify system, please feel free to reach out to support@verify.com or your account manager if you wanted to trial it or evaluate this module on your system. So let's go ahead and just give us a heads up. We can certainly make sure that we get that into your hands so you can go ahead and play around with it and see if it's a good fit for you. But other than that, I think pretty straightforward here at the moment. John, might we have any questions or chance?
We do. We have one question. Henry asks, Does Verify have or look to have DN management support for any CCaaS providers like Genesis or NICE?
I do not believe so. Good question, Henry. Thank you for that. I do not believe so at this time. At the moment, the active support is only for call managers, CUCM. But I am hearing rumblings, and I don't want to put my foot in my mouth, but I do believe one of the newer web-based platforms, Teams, I think, is going to be potentially having this type of functionality in Verify in the sometime down the road.
Yeah, I think it kind of makes sense for us to develop it against platforms that we have as the first
Agreed.
step.
Agreed. Yeah.
All right. So great job, Matt. And from now on, I'm going to call sites containers instead of buckets because that's definitely a better way of referring to them. Let me go ahead and I'm going to share out my screen one more time. All right. Thanks again to everyone who attended today. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. Our next session will be on October 23rd, when Jim and Brian will show you what is needed to report on what options are being selected via Unity. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you again next time.
Thank you all. Take care.